Good afternoon, everyone. I'm your host, Surendra Niman. Thank you for joining us for today's PIATO webinar, an introduction to Red Team assessments. Before we get started, let me take a few minutes to introduce PIATO. PIATO is a research-powered boutique cybersecurity consulting firm. We have a decade-long track record with a singular focus on cybersecurity. PIATO's impact is delivered every day through our three verticals. Number one, community and conferences. Some of you might already know that PIATO runs Asia's most respected cybersecurity conference, Nalcon. PIATO also runs Hardware.io, a hardware security focused conference. Number two, products. PIATO has also released two products in private beta trials. Exploity, a firmware analysis framework, and CloudFuzz, an advanced fuzzing framework. Number three, consulting and trainings. We primarily focus on offensive security assessments. This slide is an overview of the various consulting assessments we execute for our customers across the globe. We have delivered talks and workshops worldwide in some of the top security conferences like Black Hat, DEF CON, and Consequence. This has been our decade-long impact to contribute to a robust cybersecurity community in India and globally. Now, without further ado, let's get started with our webinar. Today's speaker Rishikesh is a Red Team security researcher at PIATO. You can read about his many wonderful accomplishments on the slide. Now, before I hand over to Rishikesh, a few housekeeping tips. Please be on mute. If you have a question, you can write it in the chat box. We will answer the questions during the few intervals towards the end of the webinar. A recording will be released later via our LinkedIn page, so make sure you're following us on LinkedIn. Rishikesh, over to you.
Thank you, Surendra. Am I audible?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, great.
Yes, Rishikesh.
So let me just share my screen. All right. So hello, guys. I'm Rishikesh, and today we'll be talking mainly about how red team assessments are performed. So we'll just go through the contents, what we'll be discussing in this webinar. So basically, we'll be talking about what a penetration testing is. We'll be talking about what limitations does a penetration testing pose. Then we'll be talking how red teaming and some penetration testing is different. Later, we'll be talking about the scope of red team assessments as to what are the steps that usually red teamers follow. We'll also get some understanding about what blue team is, and then we'll just try to understand how knowledge of blue team would help us in red team assessments. So yeah, Surendra has already given a brief introduction about me. So this is what I do. I am a cybersecurity consultant working in different domains like application security, infrastructure security, and even code review. This is just a brief about me. We'll just dive in the webinar right now. So just a few things that it would be great if you guys are aware of it. So we'll be talking about what this webinar is not about first, so that we go in the webinar with some mindset. So yes, we will be talking about what a red team assessment include, but we won't be talking about what tools are being used in, let's say, every phase of red team assessments. So probably that would be covered in later parts of the webinars. So there's a plan on creating a series where every phase of red team is discussed in deep, but that is for the future. So we'll be talking about methodologies, but not the tools that are specifically used. So that is one thing. Then the webinar is not infrastructure or platform specific, as in this will be a general idea of how red team assessments are conducted and performed. So yeah, attending this webinar will not make you a red team ninja itself, but you'll get some idea about how red team assessments are performed. And so if you are a consultant, you'll understand how to go about it or how to prepare yourself for a red team as a red teamer. Or if you have your own organization to perform a red team assessment, you understand what you should be expecting from it. And yeah, lastly, I don't want this to be just a webinar. It would be great if we have a discussion. The ultimate motive is to learn something out of this webinar, the time that we'll be spending. So it will be great if we could just, talk, communicate, share information. Great. So just in a couple of minutes, can I get some idea about how many of you here are security consultants, and how many of you here are, let's say, from a non-technical or a non-security point background? Just to get some idea, you could write it in the chat. You could speak up. Anything would be fine. Surendra, can they unmute themselves?
I'm sorry.
Can the participants unmute themselves?
Unmute. Yeah. 1 second. I'll allow them to unmute.
Okay. Well, let's have a free discussion, so that it would be great.
I think there's another option that we can use. One is thumbs up, and the other one is wave off. So that will help us to respond in this in a better way.
Perfect. We can do that as well. Thank you. So I'm assuming most of you are from consulting domain or from security domain. Is there anyone who is not from security domain? All right, we'll just move on. So yes, let's first try to understand what penetration testing is. So since I'm assuming most of you are from security domain, you would understand what a penetration testing assessment is. So yeah, mainly what happens is whenever an organization wants to perform a penetration assessment, it means that there's a defined scope that is being given to the consulting team who will be performing this assessment. Scope, as in it would be either an infrastructure assessment, or it could be a website or any application regard of their organization. So mainly what happens is there's a scope defined. The internal team is already informed that there will be something that will be happening, and more than that, you already get some access to the what you can say, like if it's an website application, you already get access to the login. So that is how a penetration testing works, right? So what else does happen in a penetration testing? Anyone? Okay, cool. So what could be the downfall of performing a traditional pen testing assessment? So what happens is in normal penetration testing, you do not go beyond the exploitation phase, as in you find a vulnerability, you either try to exploit it, or and once you have exploited it, you leave it then and there. You won't try to move further, because that is how the scope of a penetration testing is defined in the first place. So if you get a shell access on the remote machine while performing a pen test, most of the times you won't go further and try to damage or uh, try to infiltrate or even get some data out of it, because that is not in the scope. So that is a limitation. Or even if you're given internal external IPs of web applications, you just have to find vulnerabilities in the application, and you can't go from application into the system or the network and then go beyond to it, and then go beyond, right? So this is what issue of traditional pen testing is. But in real world, what happens is whenever a threat or an adversary tries to attack an organization or try to breach any organization, they won't be having any scope. They won't be thinking about, okay, this is the only application, so I won't be going beyond it. So there are no limitations for a outside threat. And as you can see, there's a word here that is used called as APT, which is called as advanced persistent threat, which is like a group of people that target any organization. So when they target an organization, they make plans for very long time. They make an organized attack chain, how they will be attacking the entire organization. And when we talk about breaching any organization, it's not just about hacking a website or getting the access of the system. It's more than that. So what they do is they will first try to get in the organization by doing some information. They'll gather some information. Once they are in, they'll try to maximize the attack surface. They will be moving inside the network. They'll understand um, how big the infrastructure is, and once they are in, they'll try to get as much as possible sensitive data out of it. Some of the APTs are also government sponsored. So, so since such attacks are even possible, uh, what do you think? How can we, or how can an organization mitigate or stop from such uh, organized attacks? So, do you guys have any idea, like what can we do in order to either entirely stop these attacks on your organization? Or,
Typically, we can use geo restrictions in that case.
okay, so okay,
I-
so right, sorry, please continue.
Yeah. So when I say geo restrictions, say for example, we can restrict the IPs which are not friendly to the particular state, right?
Right,
Depending on the political situation, right? So we can restrict at the ISP level, we can restrict at the organization level. So it depends, like where you want to restrict it.
sure, that could be done. A follow-up question would be, or let's say to mitigate that would be to use a VPN from some other state, let's say that has some good political relations. So if that happens, then is there any workaround again to
So
protect your
like for example, like kind of an ideal scenario. Let me take example of a country which is a friend of India. Okay, and India is not friend of the say for example ABC are three countries. Okay, and India being A, B is friend to India, and B is friend to C as well, and C is not friend to India. So it's exactly the same situation which you are talking about, right?
right?
Because I'm allowing the VPN connectivity from B to A to B and
Yes.
B to A, vice versa, and B can also communicate to C. So eventually, if B gets compromised, C has got access to A,
Hmm.
right? So in that case, what we have to do is that when we have a VPN tunnel termination, so we have to restrict on the network layer itself that the traffics coming from the VPN are pre-approved, like the IP ranges are pre-approved, so that we are aware from where these VPN connections are getting created.
Okay, right. I get your point, but then there, okay, this could go like in a long chain, like there could be multiple hoppings as well.
Right. But
So right, but this is one way to at least mitigate some of the attacks, right? So
right, that's one of the the most cost-effective way I can say.
yes. So yeah, apart from this, can anyone else think about some other mitigations that you can think about? Let's say you have an organization to protect and you've been given a task to protect yourself from these APTs. Can you come up with some ideas, something that is out of the box, or something that will at least mitigate or detect that there is something happening?
We can allow the request from only certain specific IPs. Like this kind of scenario we use in our organization. We basically have a VPN IP, one VPN connection. We
Mhm.
only allow connections to any of our server using that specific request IP. That is our VPN IP.
Okay, so from what you said, what I got from that is that you have an internal infrastructure, and to access that internal infrastructure, only the whitelisted IPs are allowed to access the servers, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that could be one way, but there would be something that your organization would be internet facing. There would be some resources or some assets that are internet facing that has to be public. So how will you protect them from the attacks? So yes, uh, so these two techniques are really efficient. One would be to make sure the geo IP is enabled. We whitelist from geographically as well, and also we whitelist the IP addresses to access the internal network infrastructure. Other ways that you can do is you can perform. So these are some of the defensive mechanisms just to mitigate some of the attacks. Is to keep monitoring the traffic that is coming. You should have a team that keeps on checking for the unusual activities that happen, and then use some of the monitoring tools, and then keep on performing regular monitoring checks, so that in case, even if there is an attacker already that has gotten access to your system or infrastructure, does not just stay there idle for a very long time. uh, because what apts do is they try to have a persistent access, so they won't just get information and then get out again. Keep their uh, they'll try to be very persistent, and they won't be coming out. So yes, that is what an apt is. Great, guys, I'm liking this discussion. So yeah, so we'll just get on to what red teaming is then. So yes, one way to mitigate the attacks from APT would be uh, to perform the same attacks, or to imitate the same series of attacks by a group of ethical hackers. So what a red team is basically when an attacker tries to break into organization, there won't be any scope, as we talked about. There won't be any methodology. They go all in with basically no scope, and they'll try to get breach your organization in any way possible. So red team act like a real and motivated attackers, which means that they will be imitating the apts, and what they'll do is they'll try to perform the same kind of attacks. Like they will be utilizing the time first to gather information about the organization, just like an apt. They'll try to after that keep on looking for the assets that an organization has. Firstly would be the public facing assets that an organization possess. That is how they'll start. uh, After that, they'll try to find a vulnerability, a security issue that they can exploit and get into the organization infrastructure. Once they are in, there's something called as pivoting or lateral movement, wherein they'll try to once they're in the network, they'll try to increase the attack surface by compromising more machines that are in the network. So as someone was telling that only the VPN whitelisted IPs are allowed to access the services. But if someone just gets in from a public facing website, let's say, and then from that website they get a system access on that of the server, and from there if they try to access the other machines, they will be that will be allowed by the machines or the servers. So that is one of the attacks that can happen. So once they're in the network, they'll try to move laterally and try to gain as much information as possible. So what happens in penetration testing is once you find vulnerabilities, you exploit it and then you report it. But in red teaming, what happens is even after you find vulnerabilities, that is not the end. You try to get into the network, into the infrastructure. You try to breach the organization as much as possible. And apart from that, you try to exfiltrate the sensitive data from the organization as much as you can, just like a real APT threat would work. So one of the major goals of red team is to maintain stealth. And when they've gotten inside of an organization, so as we talked right now, what APTs also do is they try to maintain their access in the organization. They won't just get in and get out. So in order to do that, they have to be very stealthy so that no monitoring tool should detect what is happening. So there are very different there are many different ways in which you can be in which the attackers can be stealthy and make sure that none of the, let's say, antiviruses or any monitoring tools detect them. Again, as against the penetration testers, they are very not, I wouldn't say they are lousy and loud, but let's say if you have if a penetration tester has to do a network infrastructure assessment, all he'll do is run nmap scan, but won't be thinking about how many logs or basically how many logs does their monitoring tool is detecting just by performing a network scan, because that does not really matter, because they have already gotten the permission to do that. And even their defense team already knows that this IP address will be performing a network scan. But that does not happen in the red team. When a red team assessment takes place, uh, no one from the security team or any team knows that there is a red team that assessment going on. So a red teamer has to be stealthy in every phase and make sure that they do not get caught. So yes, uh, does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, I think we can move ahead.
Hello, this is Kamal here.
Yes.
So one question I'm having is, this is not from technical, but it is more of, getting the approval. So let's say if I'm working for an organization which deals with financial sector, right? But I have to, get this approval for, to have red team assessment, right?
Right.
But since we are not getting this thing, approval for IP address or particular range, right? So it's like a live attack. So if in case any damage happens to the organization, right? So how do we deal with it? Or how do I have to answer, to the maybe management, like, how we can stop that or maybe analyze?
Right.
Because it will eventually affect the organization, right?
Yes, yes. And we cannot ask them for a dummy setup of what they're using right now. So we have to perform red team assessment on the actual organization that is already running.
Yeah.
So yeah, as a red teamer, we have to be very cautious about what we are doing, and every step has to be taken very meticulously. We have to make sure if we are running any exploit, we have to make sure that we do not uh, hog their services or any assets. Even if we are in the network, we have to make sure that the system works properly, because at the end a red teamer has to be very stealthy. So we cannot afford actually to damage any of the systems, or we cannot just shut any of the servers down. So yeah, that has to be done very skillfully. Even if you are trying to bypass any antiviruses, that has to be done very meticulously, or else once caught, that actually that pathway just shuts down. You cannot use the same vulnerability again.
So that will be a somewhere in the part of contract, like there won't be any damage or so.
Yes.
Ultimately, the purpose of red team is to exploit, right? So with that, damage will happen, right? there might be a chance of any damage. So how to deal
So
with
the
it?
damages won't happen. It's like let's say you have gotten access. So as a red teamer, so you want to know from a red teamer's point of view, right? That the damage could happen on the
Yes. So I'm thinking from the both perspective as a red team, as a
organizer.
analyst in red team,
Yes.
but as well as if I have to give a reply to the management, right?
Mhm.
So from that point also, like if let's take my team is working on red team assessment, but if anything happens to the maybe website or infrastructure, right? So how to deal with that, or there would be any terms or condition prior to having this red team assessment?
So in the red team assessments, we do make sure that we, like in even in terms, we do tell them that there won't be any damage that will be happening on the organization's end, because ultimately their business has to run smoothly as it is running every day. And from as a red teamer, you have like we have to make sure that what we do is we just find vulnerabilities. We look what the security holes are. We try to first analyze, understand how we can attack this and what would be the consequences. So let's say if I have a vulnerability that would cause a DDoS attack or a distributed denial of service attack. So I, so a normal APT would exploit this attack and would try to shut the organization down. But as a red teamer, we have to make sure that we do not execute such attacks. So yes, there are some attacks that mostly should not be executed. So that is how one can just avoid from damaging any of the assets. But like we, as a red teamer, we cannot tell them that okay, there will be some damage. There cannot be any damage actually to any of the assets.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Okay, cool.
Thank
So mainly we will not be performing anything such as intrusive attacks, like you said, DOS attacks. Only non-intrusive attacks will be carried out.
So yes, some of the attacks like some the attacks that will hog up the resources and will bring down their business should be avoided most of the times. If you want to show these attacks and perform these attacks, what you can do is you can talk to their management and they can give you a clone of the same. Let's say you have found this vulnerability in one of the web application. What you can do is you can ask them for a clone of the same application, and then you can show them the attack on that. Uh, or else you can just mention that there is a possibility of this is how one can perform the attack. But since the website, let's say, is in production and we do not want to uh, bring down the website and slow the business, we won't be executing some of the attacks.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, basically the approach that one has to take while performing a red team is pretty much different. Not entirely different, but a bit different than what a pen testing is, because one does not have to think about scope while performing red team. As we'll see ahead, the scope, how the scope of the red team is, and so yeah. So basically, when we talk about red team, what we basically talk is we don't scope ourselves just for the web or the network or any application. Uh, as a red teamer, what we have to do is we have to look at the bigger picture. We have to look at the organization as an and in its entirety. We need to understand from where an attack can happen, from where we can attack. So anyway, so like basically it's like we have to think in all the directions when performing a red teaming attack. So the initial phase of this red teaming is reconnaissance or information gathering. This is very much similar to what we do in penetration testing. Uh, in recon, what we do is basically we try to get information So when we are talking about a pen testing, what we do is, let's say we have a web application to pen test. What we do is we gather the information about the web application as to where the application is running. Is it running on cloud, or is it a local network? Or let's say what is an IP address? Are they using the right certificates, or many other things? That is something called as information gathering or reconnaissance. When we are talking about red team, the scope of reconnaissance itself gets very wide. We have to look for much more information. So one of them would be, let's say, first find out how many public facing websites are there, how many public facing servers are there of an organization. Try to get that. So there are few methods that could be used to get that information. So that we will be covering in next series of webinars. This would mainly be just be about introduction to every phase of red teaming. So one would be to first find all the public facing assets. The other way would be to then scan the uh, public facing assets, and then understand, let's say, what ports are open. If you find any login page, you what you could do is you could look for basic passwords, like the common passwords like admin, or let's say admin and blank password. If you have found the service versions of the installed servers, what you can do is you can look for pre vulnerable exploits to run. Then what you can do is you can find for some of the phishing attempts. So basically what we have to do is we have to get information about the entire organization. Let's say if you have, in the scope of red team, it's not just digital. We also have to look from a physical point of view. So let's say you have gotten into the physical perimeter of the organization. You look for the Wi-Fi access that is available. You look for the range that covers that the Wi-Fi covers. There are some of the policies to that as well, as to how far the Wi-Fi range should be. You try to get into the Wi-Fi network, and then eventually try to get into the access point. So this is some of the initial reconnaissance that you can do, or the information gathering. Once you have got all the information of an organization, what you can do is you can then start uh, making sense out of the data. So reconnaissance is nothing but gathering data. I won't use the word information, because what we are going to do is first we will be gathering as much data as possible about the organization from uh, any or every possible way. What a red teamer can do is make a fake call in the company to ask for some of the information, and if lucky, you could get some of the sensitive information, like what operating system uh, the the employees are using, what kind of antivirus the employees are using. That could be very efficient later on. So it completely depends on the skill set of a red teamer as to how much information they can gather. And once you have the data, you then start making sense of the data, start joining the dots. You start getting information from it, and then you can start planning an attack. So another part of information gathering would be social engineering. So what happens in social engineering is you try to gain more gain more data about the organization or the employees of the organization. uh, One can also run phishing campaigns and gain more data. So there was a test case wherein a red teamer went in the physical area of the organization in India itself, and the employees used to come out for tea and coffee or for breaks, and then the red teamer actually went for a survey in the name of survey, and then they passed forms to the employees, wherein they had to fill in their email address and name and the employee ID. That could be one of the way in which social engineering attacks can happen. So it's all about creativity on how a red teamer goes about it. and gain as much information as possible. So yes, once the information is available, we try to use the same information and perform attacks. So based on the information, we can decide how an attack should be performed. Let's say we have gotten more information about websites, and we have found some vulnerabilities in the websites. So what we'll do is we'll first, as a red teamer, we'll first try to exploit the websites. Let's say there is a vulnerable server which already has an exploit written for it, which is giving you an access to the system. That would be the first way to go about it. Another way would be, let's say the websites are very much secure, but then you find a VPN gateway that is public facing, and it is not secured by a strong password, and it is very much guessable. One can perform brute force. If a red teamer has gotten a very good information, they can also try to brute force using the pre-given information, let's say like an employee name or the employee ID. If they know what is the pattern of the login page, sorry, the login. So let's say if the username is the employee ID, so what they can do is they can brute force with the employee ID and with some of the combinations of the passwords. That could be one way to go. There's something called as dumpster diving. It is not much prominent, but sometimes there could be a possibility that some of the physical documents could have sensitive information in it, and one can get the information from that. The other way would be to actually try to do recon or the reconnaissance of the physical property of the organization. Let's say there is a the physical property. There are different locations where this organization has their branches. A red teamer, what he can do is he can go there and just observe the traffic, or how the employees, when do they leave or when do they enter. Is the security strong enough? Is the physical security strong enough? And once they understand where the weak point is, what they could do is they could get in the organization, and then from there they could launch an attack. So let's say the security guards do not check for the employee cards, and there is I mean, the employee cards do have RFID, and they do have to use it. But then there is a possibility of tailgating, where an employee swipes his or her card, and a red teamer can just walk behind him before the doors are closed. That could happen because the security is not strong enough. The other way would be, let's say an attacker or a red teamer finds a server room directly, and there is no one looking at it, or there's no security, physical security for a server room. What a red teamer can do is he can just go in, he can plug in a pen drive with already a pre-written payload and get an access to the server. There are many possibilities in which a physical security can be breached. So that is how a physical security can be breached. The other is a network intrusion. This is pretty much kind of similar to what a network penetration testing, how network penetration testing is done. So a red teamer can start scanning for the IP addresses. Let's say all the IP addresses that are given, and then there will be some of the ports that are open on the servers, and depending on what ports or what services are open, a red teamer can perform an attack. Let's say if an FTP service is open with an anonymous login, an attacker can easily just access the FTP and try to get the information. Or let's say if there are any files, if there are any sensitive files in the FTP server, he can exfiltrate them as well. So if a pen tester is doing the same assessment, the scope of the network pen testing is just to find the vulnerable services. Like let's say the FTP is vulnerable to uh, an anonymous login, and that would be it. But a red teamer has to log in anonymously, and then try to exfiltrate all the data, and then use the same data to perform further attacks. That is how a red teamer does. And the other thing is a red teamer has to be aware of any detection systems that are already installed. Let's say if there are any firewalls or if there are any network intrusion detection systems already installed, a red teamer has to make sure that he runs the scans in a way that no intrusion detection system would catch the red teamer, because the the defense the defense team that sits in the organization does not know that there is a red team assessment that is going on, and if a red teamer is caught, and if any of the antiviruses or the detection system catches some unusual activity, then I think that pathway will be closed for the red teamer, and then he'll have to again try and get inside a system in a different way. So yeah, so far we've talked about physical security testing, we've talked about social engineering, information gathering, and network intrusion. So is there any questions or queries that you guys have? Okay, cool. We can move ahead then. Okay, so imagine that you have gotten access to a system after so much of efforts. You've put your time in gathering a lot of information. You've put time in doing some physical assessment and then doing some network intrusion. Finally, you have got a system that was vulnerable, and in a way, in some way you've got access to the system. What next? How do you go ahead in a red team assessment? And in which direction would you go? So the tricky part about red teaming is you have to go in pretty much every direction that you can. So once you've got an access to a system, let's say you exploited a web application that gave you system access, a remote code execution was found, luckily, but then the privileges are not as high as we wanted. For example, if the service is using Linux systems, we are not getting root user, we are getting a user that is not as privileged as root, let's say something like www data. And now what we have to do is we have to get the root access, and from there we have to escalate our privileges to be the root user and to exfiltrate as much data as possible and gain more information so that we can later do pivoting or lateral movement, that is basically exploring more servers that are connected in the network. So this is what basically privilege escalation is. So also, in order to perform privilege escalation, we have to gather information. So information gathering stage comes after every step. So even before attacking, there's an information gathering. Once you have gotten access to a system, there is an information gathering to perform further attacks. Let's say if you have to get a root user, you'll have to, let's say, check what processes are running on the system. You can see if any process is vulnerable. You could probably find a sensitive file that stores passwords. You could find you could check the operating system that is being used, and you could find some of the kernel exploits that are possible. Now, thing about running kernel exploits is one has to be very careful and not crash the operating system, because the red team assessment is not like a CTF that a machine can be rebooted again. So if someone is running a kernel exploit, I would suggest what you can do is you can install the same operating system with the same kernel version on a VM first, run the exploit locally, see how it runs, and does it crashes the operating system. If not, only then I would suggest to run the kernel exploits. So yeah. So once you have escalated your privileges, the next part would be to perform the lateral movement. That is, you have now compromised one machine. Congratulations. Now what you have to do is you have to understand, you have to first understand the network and how big the network is. You'll have to map the network. In order to do that, there are few tools that could be used. You'll have to find which machines are communicating with the machine that we have compromised to understand some of the other servers that are running. uh, if you are in an active directory environment, then there are few things that could be done to get an entire network uh, architecture. So so that is how a lateral movement is done. You hop from one machine to another machine, and when you hop to the another, so basically when I say hop, you exploit the other machine that is in the network, and then you again gather information, you try to escalate the privileges, you exfiltrate the data from there as well. So sometimes the data exfiltration can be very tricky. There has to be some methods that has to be used, because every movement is being monitored by the monitoring tools. So a red teamer has to be very cautious when the data is being exfiltrated. The data should be either encrypted or encoded. Sometimes the packet has to be broken down into smaller chunks while sending the data. There are few other techniques that we'll talk about it in the later webinar section series. So yes, that is lateral movement. And post exploitation is basically the data exfiltration part that I'm talking about. So once you have gotten the access to the machine, you have escalated your privileges. Now you have to get the data, because as a red teamer, and from any attacker or an organization point, data is the most valuable asset right now. So if anyone can exfiltrate that sensitive information or data, that has to be the highest point of attack. So that is what post exploitation is. You'll try to exfiltrate the sensitive information, the files, the user details, anything that is possible. So yes, those are the phases of the red team. So any questions, guys, so far? Okay, so we'll just quickly see what a blue team is. So is anyone in this webinar who works as a blue teamer, SOC, SIEM, who uses these tools? Okay, Chetan, I think you have a question about how the attack vectors measured in particular VAPT exercise. Can you just explain me? I mean, what did you mean by that? I did not get the question. Okay, till then we'll just move ahead. So basically, a blue teamer is, what blue teamer does is an opposite to what a red teamer does. A blue teamer will make sure that the security policies are in place, and make sure that no bad entity or a threat tries to get access to the system. It will make sure that there are regular checks that are happening on the systems. It will make sure that everything is up to date. Uh, there will be many policies. There will be security audits that will be happening. Uh, Apart from that, there will be logging and monitoring tools that will be analyzed every day to find any of the unusual activities that are done, and basically make sure that what a blue teamer does is they first understand what are the critical assets of a organization, and then they go about securing those assets and protecting them, and make sure that no unethical or no adversary tries to access them. So that is what a blue teamer does. So some of the activities that I've mentioned here of blue teams: so installing endpoint security software on devices such as laptops. So there would be antivirus or some of the compliance softwares that would be pre-installed on the laptops, organization laptops, to make sure that uh, no malware enters into the laptop. And then they ensure that the firewall access controls are properly configured. As there was a suggestion when we talked about APT that only the whitelisted IPs should have the access to access the internal server. So all of this is maintained by blue teamers. They will be deploying IDS and IPS, which is intrusion detection system and intrusion prevention system softwares, to make sure that if there is any unusual activity, it will be detected. And then every network activity is monitored inside an organization, and then again logs and everything is monitored. So my question to you guys is, would the blue team knowledge help a red teamer? And it would be really great if we can have a discussion. Let's say a 2-minute discussion about it. So how do you think a blue team knowledge can help a red teamer here? Okay, so Chetan says that the ways the red teamer can enter in organization and their severity. Okay, guys, I think you can unmute your mics and we can have a discussion. That would be great.
So blue team knowledge means like it will help basically to understand what all the controls are there in order to bypass or figure out the exploits.
Right. So it's like if I'm a red teamer and I know how the SOC or SIEM tools work or how the logs are monitored, that would help me in order to perform some of the network attacks.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So a red teamer would be so more the knowledge of blue team, the better for a red teamer to stay stealthy in a network. So basically, that is how a red teamer would benefit from knowledge of what the blue team activities happen. Okay, so this is another question. So when do you think should we be performing pen test, and when should we be performing a red team test? So let's say you are an organization. When would you go for a pen testing versus when would you go for prefer red teaming? What do you guys think? Come on, guys, anything? Or do you think that it's always preferable to perform red team assessments rather than performing a pen testing itself?
Depending on size.
Right. Yes. So it depends on how big an organization is, how well organized the organization is, and what are the requirements. Basically, depending on the requirements of an organization, one can decide. Okay. So Chetan says that pen testing is a subset of red teaming. Yes. So this is a very interesting point to note or a point to discuss. So do you think that pen testing is a subset of red teaming? For me, what I think is pen testing is not entirely a subset of red teaming, because when you perform a pen test, the organization, the team of the blue team already knows that a pen testing is going to happen. You have some access already given, some of the access of the assets, like you've been given login credentials when you're performing pen testing. But when you perform red teaming, that is not given. So yes, there are some insertion what you can say is some of the points do intersect, but I wouldn't call it an entirely a subset. The way you go about red teaming is pretty much kind of similar to pen testing. I mean, yeah, but not an entire like red team cannot be an entirely umbrella of pen testing. So I think this is the last slide of my webinar. So do you guys have any questions?
Uh, uh, yes, can you elaborate the answer regarding that difference between, how should we go ahead with whether we should go ahead with penetration testing or red team assessment? So the answer was basically based upon the organization. So would you like to elaborate?
Sure. So it basically depends on what the organization right now needs, because when we talk about red teaming, uh, it also comes down to the timeline that the organization has for the security assessment. Because what happens sometimes is that only a web part of the assets has to be performed. I mean, you like an from an organization point of view, you just have to perform web security assessment sometimes, let's say for the audit purposes or for any other purposes. Like let's say if you have to go on production, some of the sites has to go on production, so before that you just have to perform the web security assessments, right? So during that you won't be looking for a red team. What happens is a red team assessment takes a longer time as compared to a penetration testing. Penetration testing assessments can be done in a couple of weeks, but when we talk about red team assessments, they do take a couple months, depending on how big an organization is. So it again comes down to what the requirement of an organization is, and how long uh, can they give for the security assessments. So that is one thing.
So I'm just trying to think like, let's take if any organization is getting benefited with PT, penetration testing, right? They are
Mhm.
getting all those vulnerability. Then why would they go for, red team assessment? Like,
So when you perform a red team assessment, what happens is you integrate everything and you look at a bigger picture from an organization point of view. When you are performing a PT, it's mainly security assessment of some of the assets. It does not consider the social engineering part, wherein the employees could be tricked. It does not cover the physical security part aspect of the organization. Or even let's say if I have found some vulnerability in the web application, a penetration tester would leave it then and there. He won't go ahead, and if there is any security ahead in the system, he won't be exploiting that. But a red teamer would go through every ways to compromise the organization. So if a red teamer finds a vulnerability in a web application, he would exploit that. Later, if he finds a vulnerability in the system itself, or the server that was serving the web application, he'll find that as well and report it. But then that vulnerability would have been missed by a penetration tester, because that does not come under the scope.
okay. Yeah, I get it. The difference between, PT versus, red teaming. Obviously, red teaming would have, more advantage, like in
Mhm.
order to see like 360-degree security posture, right? Or how well aware the organization employees are
Right.
in order to see social engineering attack. So I was thinking like from this way, like if I have to, get the red teaming for my organization, then what all benefits do I have to, highlight as compared to penetration?
So the benefit would be an overall security posture would be assessed of an organization, instead
Correct.
of just assessing the assets.
Because right now everything, most of the thing uh, is being covered by PT, like whatever security flaws, updates, and all those things, right?
Mhm.
Missing. So yeah. So I don't know whether most of the organization would go ahead for the exploitation and all. why I was looking, like, in case if you have any certain scenarios where organizations
Mhm.
have gone for RT rather than PT.
Okay. So that is what it depends on what the organization requires in that time. So if they just want to protect their assets and they are not looking for an overall security posture, then they can go for PT. But if they want to look like at a bigger picture and then think about the entire organization, and let's say to integrate all the assets, perform security testing or assessment, then they would go for RT. Both have got its pros and cons actually.
Yeah, got it. Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Rishikesh, we have some questions in chat box. Check that.
Yeah, just a minute. Reporting vulnerabilities and remediation combining with cyber kill chain. Okay, just a minute. I'm just reading the questions. Will there be any follow-up sessions on red teaming? So yes, I am planning on creating and starting a series itself. So as we talked about every step or every phase of red teaming, so what I'm thinking is every webinar would be one red teaming phase, and we will be diving deep and understand what tools can be used, what are the ways in which the phase can be used to uh, explore and gain more idea and insights. So that is something that I'm thinking about doing. It will be like a series. Like to know about reporting vulnerabilities and remediation. I'm sorry, Chetan, I did not get your question.
I just want to know about the reporting methods when you are conducting a vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, and how you can report this vulnerability directly to the organization, and you can how you suggest a remediation for it. Your procedure
Right.
specific to PAI2 or another rating assessment organization or external contractor is like what is your actual roadmap for this?
So when we are talking about penetration testing, what happens is you look for vulnerabilities. You find a vulnerability. You tell them what the impact is of the vulnerability, and then you give them a remediation depending on what vulnerability is. So, and what happens in red team is there could be multiple vulnerabilities uh, in a given chain. So first, what we can do is we can exploit all the vulnerabilities. We can show the POC of exploiting all the vulnerabilities in the chain, and then we can provide the remediation to each step or at every point where the vulnerabilities were occurred. And that is one way of reporting the vulnerabilities. It would be a normal document report only. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I got a quite slight idea about it. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, I think I've covered all the questions here as well.
Hello, a doubt.
Yes, Vishal.
How can one learn red teaming? One thing I know that to solve labs or pro lab, but what path you follow or recommend one to be a red teamer?
I think that would be a good starting start with labs, uh, because you'll gain more insight with the experience itself. So that is how I started. Started with labs. Later on, create your own, let's say, Active Directory environment that you can try to clone, like not clone, but imitate like a corporate environment, and then try to play around just to get the idea of what you can say, the infrastructure. Later on, for red team so later on, you just keep on getting experience from the clients, because every client will have a complete different technology stack. The scenario will be different. So this is more of like an experience. But to start with something, I think the red team labs are really good, that are being developed right now, that are being created by many people right now.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, guys, I think, and you can reach me out. My Twitter handle is HKH4CKS. I think I have mentioned it here. Yeah, and even on LinkedIn, just feel free to reach out to me for anything. We can have a discussion there as well. And yes, I think that's it from my side for this webinar. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Rishikesh. One sec. So thanks, Rishikesh, for delivering such wonderful webinar. If you have any other queries, you can reach out to Rishikesh on Twitter. Thanks to all participants for being so attentive. We will share the webinar recording on LinkedIn page, so make sure you follow us on LinkedIn. So thanks all.